Sometimes people tell me that my life spent inside the temple has shut me off from the world outside. I explain that isn't so, as the outside world comes in every day and things change all the time, with Herod, then Archelaus, and there were those terrible riots, and then the Roman procurators or governors. Nobody liked them much. 35 years ago, things were very different, easier somehow. The temple was like a little village surrounded by its high walls with many gates. It was a place of shelter and safety, a haven. When people grew old, they would often try to live close to the temple and would spend all their days within its walls. They were shown honour and given great respect. I would often work in that area of the temple, where most of the old people sat keeping one another company, near the inner court, where babies were brought for the ceremony of presentation to the Lord and blessing. It was pleasant to see the young parents with their new babies. And the old residents, as we called them, would share in their joy. Sometimes these were grand occasions, with wealthy families bringing offerings of many animals and gifts of all kinds. But to tell you the truth, the ones I liked best of all were the simpler affairs. Everyday people, often quite poor, who were allowed by the laws of the temple to bring as their gift a pair of young pigeons or doves. Often shy and overawed by the place. And in such cases, they were nearly always put at ease by one or other of the older folk. There were a couple of them that I remember really well. Anna, she was very old, very devout. She'd married young, but her husband had died after only 7 years, and she gave her life to God after that. When I knew her, she was nearly 80. People said she could see into the future. But she was not scary or strange. She was kind and a good listener. And she would often be seen talking to Simeon, nearly as old as she was. It was said that God had told him that he would not die until he had touched the Messiah. Some people used to treat him as a bit of a joke, but not Anna. He is very close to God, she said to me once, and I have a sense that soon I will lose my old friend. But she wouldn't say any more. One morning, about a month after Anna had spoken to me, I was working near Simeon. "Today," he said, "it'll be today. I am ready." And then he went and sat in his usual seat, with his back to the wall, close to the inner court. It was the time of the week for parents to bring their babies for blessing. Many of the families were finely dressed as usual. The young couples with their precious new babies, accompanied by uncles and aunts. I watched, but Simeon sat quietly in his place. But then a couple came in, alone. They were clearly rather poor. The woman, quite a lot younger than her husband, was carrying the baby, whilst the man was carrying the offering of a pair of doves. As they drew close, Simeon got to his feet. He seemed suddenly unsteady, trembling, and I went over in case he needed help. He walked slowly over to the couple, holding out his arms to take the baby. The young woman hesitated for a moment, but then placed the child tenderly in his arms. Simeon didn't say much at first, but held up the child high into the air, all the while praising and thanking God in quiet prayer. Then a little louder he said, "Now I can die in peace. I have seen him. I have held him in my arms." And then he spoke strange words about salvation and truth, and of someone who would see into men's hearts and bring great joy. But then he turned back to the mother and said, "But not you." And suddenly his eyes were filled with tears. "For you, a sword will pierce your very heart." And he placed the child back into her arms. I don't think the young woman understood most of what he had said. To be honest, neither did I. I heard that Simeon had died a few days later. I missed him for a long time.